Welcome to another 10-minute episode of Everything Sports in the Mon and Evan. I'm your host, Evan Garber, and today the NFL franchise tag period has begun. So the NFL offseason is officially here. Of course, it did technically start at the end of the Super Bowl, but now moves are going to be made. I believe it goes to the beginning of March. I think March 11th, 10th, somewhere, I don't know, somewhere around there is when the tag deadline is. But tag period is now open, and today I'm going to give you tag candidates for every NFL team. Starting off with the AFC East, the Bills. That is actually not going to beat anybody on the Bills. They're very tight on cap space, and of course they would like to bring back guys like Daquan Jones and AJ Epineza, but unfortunately, Fortunately for them, it does seem like they will be getting back on cheaper deals, so they will not be able to tag anybody more than likely. Dolphins, Christian Wilkins is definitely a tag candidate for them. They literally just can't let him walk despite their very tight cap space. He had a career year last year, 9 sacks, 23 quarterback hits, and 58 pressures. Jets, they got nobody on their list. Bryce Huff and Jordan Whitehead are definitely some options, but I think the tag prices is simply too steep for them. At $23 million for Bryce Huff and $16.3 million respectively for Jordan Whitehead. Of course, that's projected, so it'll be somewhere around there for the price tag for those franchise tags. Patriots, Kyle Duggar definitely has to be their tag candidate. He played the most defensive snaps for them this season. He allowed a 67.6 passer rating with 2 interceptions, 107 tackles, and 15 quarterback pressures. Moving on to AFC North, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. Definitely, of course, has to be T. Higgins. Now, he did have a very down season, a career low 42 receptions on 656 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns in 12 games. But, of course, he did have 1,000-yard seasons in 2021 and 2022, so definitely a big guide for the Bengals to re-sign. The Browns, they got nobody on their list. Guys like Zadarius Smith, Shelby Harris, and Kareem Hunt, yeah, they could definitely be some guys that the Browns want to bring back, but definitely not worth the franchise tag. For the Ravens, it's definitely going to be Justin Matabuke. He had a career year. Of course, one of the best defenses in the NFL for the Ravens, but 65 pressures, 13 sacks, and 33 quarterback hits. Definitely need to bring him back if the Baltimore Ravens. Hopefully, they can sign him to a long-term deal. And then the Steelers, nobody for them. Definitely, all their free agents have a lower market value than the tag, so no point of tagging anybody if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Moving on to the AFC South, the Colts definitely got to be Michael Pittman Jr. Now, they definitely need to retain him because he is their best offensive weapon aside from Jonathan Taylor, their best receiver by far. Michael Pittman had an absolutely insane career year, despite AR being injured, despite having Gardner Minshew as quarterback most of the season. 109 receptions, 1,152 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Definitely need to resign him if you're if you're the Colts. Hopefully you can get him back on a long-term deal. Jaguars, Josh Allen definitely is their guy to get. Of course, not the quarterback, the defensive end, defensive lineman. Josh Allen, career year, franchise record, 17.5 sacks, 33 quarterback hits, and 46 pressures. You gotta tag him if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. Definitely gotta get him to a long-term deal if you can. The Titans, they had nobody on their list. You could go get Derrick Henry or Danico Autry, but I think it's too expensive for them for a 1-year deal, especially for a rebuilding team. I think it's time for them to move on from Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill and finally get into that rebuild phase, which they've been creeping toward these past few years. But now it's time to fully embrace the rebuild. Texans, Jonathan Greenard should be their tag candidate. $20 million a year, especially the going rate right now for DNs with double-digit sacks, and you can definitely get him for a cheaper price with that tag. 12.5 sacks, 32 pressures, and 22 quarterback hits for Jonathan Greenard this season. Definitely a key part to get back for the Texans defense. Moving on to the AFC West, the Broncos, it's definitely going to be nobody. I mean, their cap situation is insanely tough. They do release Russell Wilson, and I mean, they're going to be in so much debt. I think it's like, I don't know, it's going to be close to like 70 million cap, something like that, over. I don't know. They're going to be very much uh, over the cap if they do, in fact, release Russell Wilson, so definitely no candidates for them. The Chargers, definitely, I don't think it's anybody either. I mean, yeah, you could maybe tag Eckler, maybe tag Gerald Everett, something like that. But I think considering they had some very down seasons, you can probably resign them for cheaper. Maybe even let Eckler walk or Gerald Everett walk or some of these guys walk. But you can definitely get him back for cheaper than the franchise tag. The Chiefs, I think sounds pretty obvious. Got to be L'Jarius Sneed. You have to be able to retain him if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. It seemed like Chris Jones does intend to re-sign with the Chiefs, so you probably won't need to tag him. So got to get L'Jarius Sneed, one of the best cornerbacks in the league this past season. He allowed just a 45.2 passer rating this season. I mean, that's absolutely insane. L'Jarius Sneed, huge part of that dominant Chiefs defense. The Raiders, they don't got anybody. I mean, yeah, you could tag Josh Jacobs again, but I feel like you can get him back for a little bit cheaper after a career worst year. Maybe even move on from him, honestly. But don't tag Josh Jacobs if you're the Raiders. Moving on to the NFC side, NFC East, Cowboys, nobody for them as well. Definitely no free agents worth the tag for them, especially since they are a rebuilding franchise. Cowboys, definitely nobody as well. I mean, yeah, you could use it on Pollard, but I think with a tight cap, it's not worth it, especially since Pollard had a down season. And yeah, he was the featured back. He was like the main back, and it doesn't seem like he has a whole lot of depth around him. But you didn't really use him that well, honestly. You didn't use him in the red zone at all, I don't think, or very little. So I don't think it's worth it. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, the Eagles, nobody as well for them. It seems likely that they will be able to reach a deal with most of their free agents, or at least those free agents that are worth retaining. Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey, if they do return, you will be able to re-sign them, I believe. And then the Giants, Saquon Barkley definitely has to be their franchise tag candidate. Yeah, he had a down season, but that Giants offensive line is the worst in the NFL, and he's the best part of the offense for sure. You would probably hope to reach a long-term deal if you're the Giants. I mean, yeah, if you're Saquon, you probably would want to walk, I would guess. He's going to test the market for sure, but the Giants definitely need to franchise tag him, bring him back, and hopefully start something there because the Giants are still in shambles offensively. NFC North, the Bears, got to be Jalen Johnson. All-pro second team this season, one of the best cornerbacks in the league again. And the Bears have plenty of cap space to tag him to work out a long-term deal. So definitely one of the main priorities if you're the Bears this season. You are rebuilding, so hopefully you can get him to a cheaper long-term deal if you're the Chicago Bears. The Lions, nobody for them. They can retain most of their free agents for much cheaper than the tag, so no point in tagging anybody. Packers and Vikings is pretty much the same thing as well. The Packers, they were able to resign Rashawn Gary to a long-term deal this season, so don't need to tag him, of course. And then Vikings, both Kirk Cousins and Dino Hunter are actually ineligible for the tag, so you can't tag either of them. Both would probably be decent candidates. Probably Dino Hunter you'd probably prioritize over Kirk Cousins if you're the Vikings, but neither of them can be tagged due to various contract clauses and things like that. The NFC South, Buccaneers, it has to be Antoine Winfield Jr. I mean, get him at a pretty good price at $17 million for the tag. Yes, you could tag Mike Evans as well, but I think if you're the Bucs, you have to prioritize a long-term deal for Mike Evans because I think if you give him tag again and then give him the tag and then make him go into free agency next year, I think he's probably going to be halfway out the door already. The Falcons, them is nobody as well. I mean, they can easily resign most of their free agents on cheaper deals. Panthers, got to be Brian Burns. Yes, he had a down season this past year, but the estimated tag is much cheaper than they would need to retain him for a long-term deal, it seems like. So get him on a cheaper deal. Hopefully convince him to stay, reach that long-term deal for them. He's one of the key pieces on that defense, and he is entering his prime years. So definitely got to retain him if you're the Carolina Panthers. And then the Saints, they had nobody. I mean, they're $83.7 million over the cap. So like, that's absolutely insane. They definitely need to cut costs. So not going to tag anybody this offseason. And the NFC West, whole NFC West, there really isn't anybody to tag. If you're any of those teams, Chase Young maybe would probably be the leading candidate in the NFC West for the Niners, that is, of course. But I don't think it's worth it to tag Chase Young, especially since you can probably get him on a cheaper deal, or maybe even just let him walk with the Niners. Because, of course, he did show some times where he just didn't seem to try at all. So we'll see what happens. See what happens with the franchise tags this offseason. We'll see who will become a free agent. And, I mean, this is set to be a pretty good free agency. Should be a very good offseason as well. Should see a lot of moving pieces around, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these guys do re-sign with their teams. But let me know what you guys think down below. Comment down below who you guys think will receive the franchise tag and where you guys think the top free agents will be headed this offseason.